Hey, it's Matt from Custom Car Grills with a mesh install for the 2017 and newer Subaru Impreza. To remove the bumper and grille, there's only 3 tools needed. A 10mm socket with ratchet and a flathead screwdriver can remove the bumper, and a Phillips head screwdriver will be used for the grille. To get this install started, first I'll pop the hood open and then prop the hood up to gain access to the top of the bumper. On the top edge of the bumper, there are 6 10mm bolts and 2 plastic push rivets. The bolts loosen as expected, and the push rivets come out by simply popping up the head halfway and lifting the body out, like so. By the wheel well, there is 1 push rivet here that can be released by pushing the center circle in with a screwdriver. Once it's in, then the body can be lifted out and set off to the side. And now on to the bottom fasteners. Some will loosen with a flathead screwdriver like this one, and others pop out like the ones that were on the top of the bumper. I counted 13 plastic rivets in total on this lower edge. After that, the bumper should detach from the body with a gentle tug of the bumper from the sides. The top area will need to be lifted up just a pinch to make it over the edge. On the model I worked on, there was only 1 light harness on each side that needed to be disconnected. With the bumper fully removed, the grille is held in place with 8 Phillips head screws that can be loosened and set off to the side for now. Once the screws are removed, then the only thing holding the grille in are 6 clips that can be dislodged with a flathead screwdriver like this one. And now, the grille can be removed from the bumper. Before starting the mod, I took out the emblem and the horizontal trim piece. Now we're left with the pieces that will need to be kept for the rest of the install. The outer bezel is the last component to be disassembled, and I'll need to flip this around to get to the tabs. A flathead screwdriver is all that's needed to gently release the clips that are holding this together. There's a slightly different connector on the far left and right screw mount, but a screwdriver can make short work of releasing this. With all the tabs released, the bezel can be easily removed and set off to the side for now. Next, I'll grab my rotary tool and equip Dremel's number 543 cutting and shaping wheel. The first cuts I want to make will be on the back. Along the center of the top edge, there's a solid area of plastic connecting up the inner grille. I'll make a cut there, about 1/8 of an inch away from where the edge of the bezel tabs are. Once that is cut, then I'll go for the thin vertical support bars, which are easy to cut through in one pass. Flipping it back around to the front, I'll start working on the rest of these cuts. I found it easiest to angle in the Dremel bit where the body of the tool is near the center of the grille, like so. Otherwise, the chuck that holds in the Dremel bit can damage the outer edge of the grille. Just keep about 1/8 or 1/4 of an inch away from the edge where the bezel snaps back in, and we'll clean this up more soon. Once all the cuts are made, the center of the grille can be lifted out and thrown away. This is where the cutting gets a little tricky. What I need to do is cut out the rest of the center right here on this tiny little clean edge. I want to keep this edge clean and consistent, which means I'll be shaving this down to only about 1/8 of an inch thick. The same will apply here on the top and side edges too. Having a steady hand here, as well as being familiar with rotary tools, is very important. This needs to be a consistent depth for it to look clean. Using a tape line or marking it off ahead of time with a high contrast Sharpie may make cutting to this depth easier, but in this specific install I was able to freehand it. It is possible to make these cuts from either the front or the back of the grille. I found that I only felt comfortable cutting some spots from certain angles, and it's going to vary from installer to installer. The upper corners were a little awkward, and I found that I was able to whittle down the plastic with the outer edge of the cutoff wheel like shown here. After the cuts are made, I'll grab some sandpaper and clean up some of these cut edges. If there's any waviness from the cuts, this is the time to fix it by evening them out. I like to start with a 100 grit sandpaper and then work it down finer. If any sanding on an edge that would be seen was done, then it's best to get some high quality flat black paint and spray it to make it look factory fresh again. Another area to consider painting black is this center strip for light colored Imprezas, because otherwise it will stick out on the finished product. And it's important to note that flat blacking out the radiator will help with the appearance of this quite a bit too. Anyway, once the inner portion is all good, then the bezel can be reinstalled. This all just snaps in easily. The only thing to be mindful of is to make sure that the tabs are all lined up right before trying to push them together. Now, let's take a look at the mesh piece that we have for sale on our website. This is pre-cut and pre-formed specifically for the 2017 and newer Subaru Impreza. We've made all the right cuts in all the right places and taken all of the guesswork out of how to fit it into the grille. This just slides onto the back of the opening like so, with the bent edges facing the front of the grille. To temporarily hold the mesh to the grille, I'll grab some cable ties and foam. The tail end can go through the mesh from the front, while the head wraps around the grille frame and then fastens right behind the mesh. Repeat this all the way around the grille perimeter until the mesh is flush up against the back of the grille. I like to have the head of the tie resting on the back of the mesh. It seems to give the best hold while not distorting the shape of the grille frame. Once satisfied with the tie placement, then I'll cut off the ends and throw them away. Before moving forward, I'll give this a quick look to check for any gaps. So far, this looks seamless, so I'll flip it back around and grab some adhesive. For installs like this, I prefer to use the adhesive called Automotive Goop. Before using this, I want to point out some areas to avoid right here. These areas have cutouts that go all the way to the front of the grille, and adhesive can come through there, which would ruin the grille. In the other areas where the mesh and grille are making contact, I'll apply a small amount of goop to bond them together. The grille is going to be a really tight fit back on the bumper with the mesh in place, so I can't add too much adhesive due to space constraints. After the goop is in there, then I'll just need to wait for it to cure. Typically it takes about a day, but this can be sped up with a fan blowing on it. After it's cured, then I'll come back and cut off the ties and throw them away. The protective foam can be removed too, and the mesh install is now complete. Let's flip it around and see how it turned out. Wow, this looks awesome! The hexagon mesh is a great fit for the car, and the badgeless design is really sleek. Doing a quick look around on the front of this, the mesh looks seamless and there's no sign of how it was installed. I'm ready to install this back on the bumper and to get the bumper back on the car. Just line it up and push the grille in until a couple clips catch. More than likely, only the top clips will connect. The bottom clips right here did not fully insert for me, but that's nothing to be alarmed with since there's plenty of screws that will keep this in place. Just tighten those screws back up until they have a firm hold, and then the bumper is ready to be reinstalled. Refasten any wiring harnesses that were unclipped before, and then slide the bumper in place and refasten the bolts and plastic rivets. This whole project is now complete, and here's how it turned out. Overall, I love this badgeless design, but the new grille is easy to customize with new badges or emblems if desired. Well, that's all I have for this video, and I hope you liked it. If you have any questions about this install, then feel free to contact us, and thanks for watching.